absolute climax of this massive World Cup.
Yeah, the pinnacle of the sport, honestly. It's the culmination of a 48-team, 104-match marathon.
Which is just crazy to think about.
It is. I mean, it's completely taken over the U.S., Canada, and Mexico for, what, the last 5 weeks?
Yeah, 5 weeks of just grueling travel, massive tactical shifts, and, I mean, you can see it on the players' faces, just profound exhaustion.
Absolutely.
So today, we are taking all these match reports, the tactical breakdowns, the player stats, and we're getting you completely prepped for this historic final weekend. And we're going to start right with the defending champions, because Argentina's 2-1 comeback over England in Atlanta was, well, it was anything but smooth.
No, it really wasn't. It felt incredibly chaotic.
Right, because England strikes first. We're in the 55th minute. Morgan Rogers sends in this driving cross, and Anthony Gordon is just right there at the back post to tap it in.
Yeah, a brilliant sequence.
And from that moment on, the tempo was just furious. It seemed like England had completely dismantled Argentina's rhythm. I mean, the American referee, Ismail Elfath, he was constantly having to step between players.
It was a deeply physical match.
It was. So how did England manage to make the defending champions look so, entirely uncomfortable for basically 80 minutes?
Well, they did it by essentially cutting off the oxygen to Argentina's midfield. I mean, England didn't just drop back and defend that one-goal lead, right?
Yeah.
They engaged in this highly aggressive physical press right in the middle third of the pitch.
Just suffocating them?
Exactly. They actively isolated Enzo Fernandez and Alexis McAllister. Actually, there was this incredible heat map I saw on vailychat.web.app that showed exactly this. England's midfielders were constantly shadowing those passing lanes.
Forcing the center backs to just hold the ball.
Right, forcing Argentina's center backs to hold the ball way longer than they wanted to. It created a really disjointed, highly physical game.
Which is exactly what you want if you're playing a possession-based team.
Precisely. You want to drag them into the mud.
Okay, let's unpack this, because here is what I find fascinating about Argentina's response. When a game turns into this chaotic, physical battle, you generally expect the team's captain, their star player, to jump into the trenches with them.
Sure, you expect them to be everywhere.
Right. But Lionel Messi, he doesn't do that. For massive stretches of that second half, he looks like completely detached from the physical struggle. He is literally just walking around the center circle.
He is. And, that walking is so often misinterpreted by casual observers. They see it and think it's fatigue, or maybe he's disinterested.
Yeah, but it's actually more like echolocation, isn't it?
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Like, he isn't resting.
Yeah.
He's mapping the space. He is continuously walking into the blind spots of those English defenders to just, test their spatial awareness. He's basically waiting for the exact moment the defensive structure loses its shape.
That echolocation analogy is crucial. What's fascinating here is if you track his head movements during those periods where he's just walking, and again, someone posted a great video breakdown of this on vailychat.web.app recently, he is constantly scanning over his shoulder.
Just taking mental pictures.
Exactly. He is calculating the distance between the English center backs and their defensive midfielders. Because England was expending so much physical energy pressing, their legs started to get really heavy around the 80th minute.
Which happens to everyone against Argentina.
Right. And so the gaps between their players expanded from, say, 2 yards to maybe 4 yards.
And 4 yards is an absolute canyon for Messi.
It really is. So 85th minute, he finds that newly open pocket of space, receives the ball on the half turn, and delivers this just mathematically perfect pass.
And Enzo Fernandez fires home the equalizer from just outside the box.
Exactly.
And then, the fatal blow comes in stoppage time. 92nd minute, Messi floats across into the box. Lautaro Martinez slips between two exhausted English defenders and heads it in for the win.
A vintage Argentina victory. They're on the verge of becoming the first back-to-back winners since Brazil did it with Pelé in 58 and 62.
Wow, 58 and 62. But I do have to push back on the narrative a little bit here. Watching Argentina rely on a 39-year-old Messi to suddenly unlock a defense in the final 10 minutes. I mean, is that a sustainable tactic? Are they overly reliant on his individual genius, or is this just the reality of a battle-tested team?
It's a calculated risk, for sure, but I think you have to credit the surrounding architecture of the team.
Okay, how so?
Well, yes, Messi provided the 2 decisive assists, but look at the resilience required from the rest of the squad to even keep that game within reach. I mean, Alexis McAllister struck the goalpost twice earlier in the half.
Right, they were knocking on the door.
Exactly. And the defensive line absorbed tremendous pressure without breaking. They are a team that understands they don't need to dominate all 90 minutes. They just need to survive long enough for their orchestrator to find a crack in the wall.
Which is honestly the polar opposite of the team waiting for them in New Jersey.
Oh, a completely different DNA.
Right, because if Argentina showed us that modern football is still swayed by emotional resilience and individual brilliance, Spain's semifinal against France was just a terrifying reminder of what happens when a team acts like a single ruthless algorithm.
Terrifying is probably the most accurate description for what Spain did in Dallas.
2-0. Yeah.
Yeah, a 2-0 victory that honestly felt much wider than the scoreline suggests.
And let's contextualize France for a second, because coming into that semifinal, France was the highest scoring team in the entire tournament. 16 goals.
They were an offensive juggernaut.
Yeah, you've got Kylian Mbappe, Ousmane Dembélé, arguably the most lethal, blistering attacking duo on the planet. Yet against Spain, they looked completely neutralized. I mean, how do you mechanically shut off the water to an attack like that?
You do it through this concept called positional play, or juego de posición, mixed with just staggering defensive discipline.
So not just dropping everyone back.
Right, they didn't just pack all their defenders into the penalty box and pray, the old tactic we used to call parking the bus. Instead, they actually controlled the game with the ball.
Right.
They utilized a double pivot midfield, meaning two defensive midfielders constantly moving to create passing triangles. They basically starved France of possession.
So they essentially play keep away as a form of defense.
Precisely. If Mbappe doesn't have the ball at his feet, he can't hurt you. Spain dictated the rhythm. And when France did manage to win the ball back, Spain's defensive line was staggered perfectly to absorb the counterattack.
Just forcing Mbappe out wide?
Exactly, into these totally harmless areas. And then when Spain attacked, they were surgical.
Yeah, we saw that early on. 22nd minute, that young winger Lamine Yamal draws a penalty, which Mikel Oyarzabal just casually converts.
Ice in his veins.
And then 58th minute, Pedro Porro strikes a beautiful goal to make it 2-0. And from there, Spain's goalkeeper, Unai Simon, and that backline just put on an absolute masterclass in denying France anything.
What's remarkable about this Spanish team is their evolutionary arc in this tournament. I don't know if you remember match day 1, but they opened their campaign with a really surprisingly flat, scoreless draw against Cape Verde.
Oh, I remember the media panic. I mean, everyone was writing them off, saying this new generation of Spanish players had, incredible passing abilities, but absolutely no cutting edge in the penalty box.
Right, all possession, no penetration. But it perfectly illustrates why tournament football is all about peaking at the right time.
Yeah, they figured it out.
They absorbed that early criticism, tweaked their attacking patterns, and now they've morphed into this unstoppable collective. This is their first trip to a World Cup final since their golden generation won it back in 2010.
So they're defined by structural intelligence, which sets up just an incredible stylistic clash against Argentina on Sunday. The algorithm versus the artist.
It's going to be brilliant.
It really is. But before we get to the tactical chess match of Sunday's final, we have to look at what's happening on Saturday in Miami. And here's where it gets really interesting.
The third place match.
Yeah, the third place playoff, which is historically the match that teams absolutely dread. I mean, you just suffered a devastating semifinal defeat. Your dream is dead. And then 72 hours later, FIFA requires you to go play 90 more minutes for a bronze medal.
Yeah, it is notoriously difficult for managers to motivate their squads for this game. Usually, we see heavily rotated lineups, backup goalkeepers getting some minutes, young players being handed a token appearance.
But the dynamic of the England versus France match is completely altered this year. We are looking at a massive high-stakes shootout because the race for the Golden Boot, the award for the tournament's top scorer, is just historically tight.
It really is a statistical anomaly. It's the first time in World Cup history that 3 different players have netted 7 or more goals in a single tournament.
Which is wild. Let's break down the math for everyone. At the very top, you have Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe currently tied with 8 goals each. Oh wait, I was reading on vailychat.web.app earlier that there are no true ties for this award. So how does the tiebreaker actually work?
Right, so if players are level on total goals, FIFA's first official tiebreaker is assists. So because Messi provided those 2 crucial assists against England, he currently sits at 4 assists for the tournament.
Okay, and Mbappe.
Mbappe currently has 3. So that means Messi technically holds the advantage heading into the weekend.
Wow, okay. And then looking just behind them is Norway's Erling Haaland with 7 goals. But obviously, Norway was eliminated by England in the quarterfinal, so his campaign is done.
Yes, Holland had a tremendous I mean, he scored twice in a single match against Brazil, but his tally is frozen at 7.
Right. But then you look at the players actually taking the pitch in Miami. Mbappe is chasing Messi. On the English side, you have Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham both sitting on 6 goals and 1 assist.
And Dembele for France with 5 goals and 2 assists.
Right. It is incredibly crowded at the top. But I have to ask you, and maybe play devil's advocate here, does a player like Harry Kane actually care about a personal trophy when the ultimate goal of winning a World Cup just vanished? Like, does it not feel a bit like a meaningless consolation prize?
This raises an important question about the psychology of world-class strikers. You know, we view football as the ultimate team sport, and missing out on the final is undeniably agonizing for them. But you have to understand that goal scorers are wired with a very specific, necessary selfishness.
Like, they have to have an ego to survive in the box.
Exactly. And look at the historical context here. Kylian Mbappe won the Golden Boot in 2022. Harry Kane won it in 2018. The opportunity to win a second Golden Boot is monumental.
It's legacy defining.
It really is. Only a handful of players in the history of the sport have ever achieved that. That individual ambition is the exact motivation a player needs to shake off the mental fatigue of a semifinal loss, step onto the pitch in Miami, and demand the ball. They are not treating Saturday as a friendly.
Which drastically changes the tactical reality of the game, doesn't it? If the entire French team knows Mbappe needs 1 goal to tie or 2 to secure the lead, they are going to be actively feeding him the ball at every possible opportunity.
Oh, it entirely distorts normal match tactics. You will literally see players passing up good shooting opportunities themselves just to slide the ball over to Kane or Mbappe.
And the defenses know this too.
Right, so you end up with these incredibly skewed, hyper-focused attacking patterns. It makes for fascinating viewing, honestly.
I can't wait. So Saturday settles the individual accolades, but the true center of gravity, the focal point of the global sporting universe, shifts to MetLife Stadium in New Jersey on Sunday.
A big one.
Yeah, and this is where the World Cup transcends being just a football match. We are talking about a massive collision of sports, global culture, and philanthropy.
Yeah, the modern World Cup final is, at its core, a global cultural broadcast event. The logistics required to pull it off are staggering, and FIFA is utilizing a massive production apparatus for this one.
Let's look at the closing ceremony, because the sheer scale is hard to comprehend. We're expecting over 80,000 fans inside MetLife Stadium. And the gates are actually opening at 11 a.m. Eastern Time because the pre-match ceremony kicks off at 1:30 p.m. Eastern.
Right, a full 90 minutes before the players even take the pitch for kickoff.
Yeah, and this year, the closing ceremony is being headlined by Post Malone, which is huge. I know vailychat.web.app has been buzzing about the Leaf set lists for weeks now.
Yeah, the excitement is palpable. And bringing in an artist like Post Malone, it just shows how much they want to bridge that gap between sports and mainstream pop culture.
Absolutely. And they are leaning fully into the American blockbuster aesthetic. We've got EGOT winner Jennifer Hudson slated to sing the national anthem. And then there's the Tom Cruise element.
Ah, yes, the special appearance stunt.
We all saw him rappel off the roof of the Stade de France during the closing ceremony of the Paris 2024 Olympics. Apparently, he has another massive, highly theatrical stunt planned for the crowd at MetLife.
It just injects this ridiculous, larger-than-life movie feel into the whole afternoon.
It really does. But the pre-game ceremonies are honestly only a fraction of the entertainment story here, because this World Cup is introducing a structural change to the match itself that we have never seen before in FIFA history.
Right, the Super Bowl-style halftime show.
Which is wild. Usually, halftime at a soccer match is simply 15 minutes for the players to get into the locker room, grab a drink, and for the broadcast to run some quick analysis of the first half. How are they possibly going to pull off a massive concert in the middle of a football match without destroying the pitch?
It requires military-level precision. I mean, they have a window of exactly 15 minutes. That includes rolling out the stage infrastructure, executing the performance, dismantling the whole stage, and getting off the grass before the second half begins.
That sounds impossible.
It's incredibly tight, but they have booked a lineup with an unfathomable global reach to justify the effort.
Yeah, they brought in Coldplay's Chris Martin to curate the whole thing, and the co-headliners are Madonna, Shakira, and BTS.
I mean, that is a collection of fan bases that essentially covers the entire globe.
It really is.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, This specific halftime show serves a deeply important structural purpose. It is not just about competing with the Super Bowl for entertainment value.
Right. So what is the underlying goal then?
This entire halftime event is a coordinated live fundraiser for the FIFA Global Citizen Education Fund.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, the strategy is to leverage this specific 15-minute window when an estimated 1 billion people are simultaneously watching their screens to raise $100 million.
$100 million in 15 minutes.
That's the goal. And the funds are earmarked entirely for building schools, providing educational resources, and supporting youth football programs in developing nations.
That's amazing.
It is. My core belief has always been that the massive footprint of international sports is most valuable when it transcends the game itself. A football match is wonderful, but using that captive global attention to build physical schools, that is how a tournament actually leaves a lasting legacy.
It takes the incredible excess and wealth of a World Cup final and anchors it to a tangible, desperately needed global initiative. It really adds weight to the whole spectacle.
Absolutely.
So, what does this all mean for you as you settle in to watch this weekend? We have covered immense ground today. You understand the tactical geometry of how Spain used its possession to basically strangle their opponents, and how Argentina relies on the quiet, calculated echolocation of Lionel Messi to find a single fatal flaw in a defense.
It's going to be a fascinating clash of styles.
It is. And you know why the third place match on Saturday isn't just a friendly, but a legacy-defining hunt for the Golden Boot between Kylian Mbappe and Harry Kane. And of course, you know that when the stage rolls out at halftime on Sunday for Madonna, Shakira, and BTS, it's actually the centerpiece of a $100 million philanthropic effort. You are officially equipped with the insight to be the most knowledgeable person at your watch party.
It is going to be a phenomenal conclusion to a wildly entertaining month. But before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you watch the confetti fall on Sunday.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Before a single ball was kicked in this tournament, the expansion from 32 teams to 48 teams was heavily criticized by football traditionalists.
Oh, massively.
The argument was that adding more teams would drastically dilute the quality of the competition, resulting in these boring, lopsided matches. But if we look back at the sheer chaos we just witnessed, the Cinderella runs from smaller nations, the totally unpredictable group stages, and the historic heavyweight clashes we still got in the knockout rounds, did this expanded format actually prove the critics wrong? Did opening the doors to more nations ultimately make for a much more vibrant, unpredictable World Cup?
That is a fantastic question to chew on, and honestly, a perfect lens through which to view the final. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. Enjoy the tactics, enjoy the spectacle, and hey, if you're local, come meet up with us to watch the final at Pazzo's Pizza in Avon. We'll catch you next time.